Yeah, we're turning to cricket now on the SportsMax Zone. Australia will contest the World Test Championship final in June after booking their place with a 9-wicket victory over India in the third test at Indore. Chasing 76 for victory only, the Aussies made light work of the target, winning before lunch on day 3. Gerard Morris-Seeley has the recap.
Absolutely brilliant.
Usman Khawaja and Travis Head walk into the crease on day 3 with Australia needing just 76 runs to beat India. Ravi Ashwin sent the message early that the run chase wasn't going to be easy, picking up the wicket of Khawaja with the second ball of the innings. The innings took a turn though when Marnus Labuschagne joined Head at the crease and immediately got on top of the bowling. Head was aggressive as usual, hitting 7 boundaries during the run chase. Labuschagne's preeminence was kept under control during the series, but he reminded the innings of just how dangerous he could be with 6 boundaries. Rohit Sharma used just 3 bowlers who were not able to unrattle the Aussie batsmen. The 2 spinners shared 16.5 overs, with Jadeja bowling 7 of them, taking none for 23. Ashwin bowled the most overs of the innings, taking the only wicket but conceding 44 runs, including 7 boundaries in 9.5 overs. Umesh Yadav bowled 2 overs for 10 runs, but the batsmen were settled and in sight of victory by the time he was introduced. Aksar Patel was the other spinning option available to Sharma, but he opted not to use him. And Australia got home an hour before the lunch break, with Head unbeaten on 49 and Labuschagne on 28.
Yeah, when you lose a test match, there's a lot of things which didn't go our way. Obviously, to start with, obviously we didn't bat it well in the first innings. We understand how important it is, to put runs on the board in the first innings. And then, when they got 90 runs lead, obviously we had to produce another, innings with the bat, but we were not able to do that again. We got just 75 runs on the board. But again, if you bat well in the first innings, things would have been slightly different.
No, look, obviously, we're thinking of Paddy back home. He's had to go home, so our thoughts are with him. But yeah, look, I really enjoyed this week. I like captaining in this part of the world. I feel like I understand the conditions really well and the intricacies of the game that need to happen, ball in and ball out. I think there's an event every ball, and what happens that ball can dictate what happens the ball after. So it's a lot different to other parts of the world. So no, it's a place I really enjoy it, and yeah, I think I did a reasonable job this week.
Steve Smith there, the Aussie captain, of course. The 4th and final test will start on Wednesday night, midnight Eastern Caribbean, 11 o'clock in Jamaica, and the Aussies trailing 2-1 in the series, an opportunity in the 4th test for them to level the series after losing the first 2 matches pretty badly. And Mariah, a real impressive fight back here from the Aussies, who looked down and out in the series. And I wonder how much credit goes to the stand-in captain, Steve Smith. Pat Cummins has done a good job as captain of the Australian team. His win ratio is very impressive, so we know that he's had a solid run, but his mom is ill in Australia and he's had to miss this test match. And we've seen an Aussie team just turning things around under Steve Smith. He just spoke there of how well he understands the conditions in that part of the world. And a lot of credit to Steve Smith in getting the Aussies to rebound in the way that they did.
Yeah, well, we know the type of leader that Steve Smith is, and he comes back into the position, and of course he does it like an expert. It's as if the captain was not missing. When you look at the different changes he made, of course the decisions that he had to make as a captain. So I think for me, that was the least of the problems where Australia was concerned. So, captaincy for me, when he steps in, I'm like, okay, Steve Smith is going to do a great job. I think where the problem arises now is the fact that the team, they've won with Steve Smith at the helm. And of course, with this selection that he's made, I wonder, because this is natural, right? When a captain comes back into a team, they walk into the team. Of course, nobody really questions their position and whatnot, even more so when they're performing well. Pat Cummins, let's just say he comes back in for the next test. Is it that, he's going to walk back in? Whose spot is he going to take? And you recognize, Lance, you're smiling, but I have more questions than answers now.
He will walk back into the team and take back the captaincy because he is the captain. And there's nothing about Pat Cummins' captaincy in the past year that even hints at him being replaced. Having said that, Steve Smith, who was scandaled in the sandpaper gate issue with South Africa, was deemed not likely to ever captain the Australian team again because of the embarrassment and the cheating aspect of what happened with that test series in South Africa. So the fact that he's now put himself back into the position where he can become a captain again, I guess it will always be an issue for the fans looking on, especially because of how successful they know the Steve Smith is as a captain, and it's something that fans will talk about, I'm sure. But I don't think Pat Cummins' place as captain is in jeopardy at all, and I think he misses the rest of the series. I don't think he'll be back for the 4th test because his mom in Sydney is unwell and he wanted to be home. And we heard Steve Smith reference, Paddy, which is what he called him, back home, and pretty much dedicating the result to him. So I don't think there's an issue of Pat Cummins being vulnerable in the captaincy role of this Australia team.
Yeah, but it doesn't change the fact that, fans, they call for you when you're not doing well, and it's just the nature of the game. Everybody wants to win. So once something starts working, even if it's just a knee-jerk reaction, everybody jumps on the train. But that aside now, Lance, of course, with Australia, they have already qualified for the World Test Championship final, which is good for them because, now they can play cricket, relax, and of course, just try to get the runs up and do what they would want to improve on.
Yes.
However, India, they still have some work to do. Do you see them, being concerned about it and focusing too much on that, or do you think it's going to work out for them and they just play their natural game?
Well, it's one of the reasons why I'm very intrigued about this 4th and final test, because the Indians stuttered badly in this 3rd test. No one expected them to lose it. I wouldn't say no one, but it wasn't expected that they would lose this test. And if it is that they have this sort of heart and determination, which I'm sure they have playing at home, they would want to ensure that they get back on the winning trail, because this result is very embarrassing for them. Not only that they lost, but how they lost and the comfort with which the Aussies win. Now, they are eyeing a spot in the World Championship final as well, and they need a victory to assure themselves of that spot.
Yeah, and of course, it's very important that they win the 4th test in order to, to get a place in that World Test Championship final. So, of course, India would want to make the necessary changes and, bounce back from that disappointment, because, Lance, they would have had disappointing performances, especially with the bat. It's a topic that we would have discussed on the zone for some time, so they need to rectify that. And, a lot of people pointing to the pitches, but Rohit Sharma had to silence those naysayers about the pitches, because he said, how about we discuss, Lance, the bowlers and how good they were, the individual performances that we saw, because we both had to bat on the same pitch. So, he, of course, kind of brushed aside that narrative, saying that, let's not just focus on the pitches. We all agree to play on these particular pitches, because that is a topic that, I find when teams don't do well, they always look for a loophole to, bash something except your own performances.
Well, I think Rohit Sharma will have to deal with the issue of criticism that the team may have been complacent, because having won so easily in the first 2 test matches, the performance that we saw from Rohit Sharma's team in the 3rd test was way below what was expected of them. They were beaten finalists in the last World Test Championship by the New Zealanders, and they would obviously want to go one better here. And a win in the 4th test, guaranteeing them a spot in June's World Test Championship final, would give them an opportunity to go one better than they did in the last World Test Championship. Having said that, there is still a lot to happen between then and June, when that match is played, including that 4th test match to be played in Ahmedabad. And I would think the Indians may still be favourites to win, because at home, India are always hard to beat. Steve Smith said it. the Australian victory over India in India was the first in 18 test matches. So it's not normal for Australia to go to India and win test matches, which is why this win for them was so satisfying.
Yeah.
But I'm sure India will come back very strong in the fourth test, and I'm not sure who's going to win, but I think India will be probably favourites to avenge the third test loss and win this one.
Yeah, looking forward to see how it turns out, and of course live action right here on your home of champions.
Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.